today I decided to give Pretty Little Liar a break, and instead of talking about that show, I'm gonna be talking about its successors, their failed spin-offs. I'm gonna be focusing mainly on Pretty Little Liar the Perfectionist, because when I watched the show I thought, well, it's not that bad, and I was kind of sure that they were gonna get a second season, and then they didn't, and I was like, oop. So I guess I was wrong. I don't really see people talking about it, so I said, hey, let's go back and rewatch the show and try to understand why that show didn't work, and also why Pretty Little Liars attempted spin-offs also didn't work. So let's get into it. There's gonna be spoilers for The Perfectionist if you ever had any intention of watching that show, and I'm gonna be also mentioning Pretty Little Liars because I can't stop talking about Pretty Little Liars, and I'll be talking about Ravenswood, and yeah. I know that The Perfectionist is based on books from Sarah Shepard, the same author of Pretty Little Liars. I have not read those books, and I probably won't read those books ever, so this video is based only on the show. I always forget to introduce myself. Hi, my name is Sophia. I make videos about shows, rants, reviews, anything that comes into my mind. Sometimes I talk about specific characters from certain teen dramas, so if that's something that interests you, maybe consider to subscribe.
Two can keep a secret if one of them is dead.
Pretty Little Liar the Perfectionist takes place in Beacon Heights, where Alison gets an offer as a new TA. This top-tier university seems to be perfect on the surface, but as the episodes go on, we realize that it's just a facade and is hiding some ugly secrets. The show focuses on Ava, Dylan, and Caitlin, who are part of Nolan's fake perfect posse. Someone dies, and they all work together with Alison and Mona to solve the mystery. Pretty Little Liar the Perfectionist follows the same exact formula as the OG Pretty Little Liars, a group of friends with a manipulative, annoying leader that unites the group. That person dies or fakes their death. The rest of the group work alone to find out who did it. Someone is threatening them with exposing their secrets, harassing authorities, bad parents, someone fakes their death, relationship that makes me uncomfortable, and I'm going to stop here because you get the point. I mean, it's basically the same thing, the same drama and mystery. The theme song is basically the same, but just a cover of the OGs. Something positive I say about this show, before I talk about the negative, is that I love that it was college students, since we never really see that on teen dramas. They always focus on high school, and I think it was nice that they did university students for once.
Two can keep a secret if one of them is dead.
The thing about spin-offs is that without a loyal audience from the main show, it's set up for failure. Think about it. It's a show that is based off another show. So if the fans of that show aren't interested in watching it, what makes you think a new audience will give it a chance? When doing a spin-off or a reboot, it's important to catch the essence of the OG to understand why people love it so much, what people criticize the show about, so they can avoid making the same mistakes. And I feel like The Perfectionist doesn't do that. The characters are too much like the old ones, and they even acknowledge it by calling Caitlin Spencer many times. It's the same thing. It's just they change a few things here and there, so you can think that it's a whole new show, but it's the same crap. That kind obviously played against them. And one of its many mistakes is having Marlene involved.
Two can keep a secret if one of them is dead.
Marlene, if you don't know who she is, she's the showrunner of Pretty Little Liar. If you were in the Pretty Little Liar fandom, you probably know who she is. I mean, every time something didn't make sense in Pretty Little Liars, we always blamed her. And I get that she's in the show. She was a producer of Pretty Liars, so it makes sense for her to be heavily involved in The Perfectionist. But the thing is that she didn't do that good of a job in Pretty Little Liars. I mean, the show was built on inconsistencies and plot holes and storylines that didn't make fucking sense. So giving her another chance when this show don't think it was a good idea. And it's so funny because I've been reading her interviews for the past few days to see if she has said anything about the perfectionists or whatever, and they are a fucking mess. I mean, I knew that, but oh my god, she doesn't even know a thing about the show that she created. Side note, because I really need to talk about this. So when season 7 came out, well, when the show ended, she did a bunch of interviews because obviously that show ended so badly. And when they were asking her about how she made a decision about who was gonna be the ultimate A and how she came to a conclusion of Alex Drake, she was saying that she was filming the show and she had no idea who was gonna be A. So she wanted it to be a show regular because it wouldn't make sense to bring in a new character. But no one was available or something like that. And I mean, you know, people wanted to be grand. So obviously she couldn't make it grand because she needed to be unpredictable. She needed to surprise people, even if it didn't make sense. And for her, it didn't make sense for it to be one of the liars because the show is about friendship. So she thought that bringing in a twin of one of the girls would just be kind of like a loophole, like it will solve everything, even though we never knew that Spencer had a twin until the very last episode. Anyway, it's just a fucking ass mess. We don't really need to talk about that. So another thing that went wrong was the timing. Making a spin-off show immediately after PLL ended wasn't the right move, since almost nobody, to not say everyone, was happy or satisfied about the ending. The Perfectionists premiered in 2019 when the last episode of Pretty Little Liars aired in 2017. It's a 2-year gap where people are still trying to recover from that awful series finale. If the show would have ended on a good note or semi-good note, I don't think it would be a problem, but since the show ended so bad, it backfired on them. And I understand why they make it so early, because they wanted to keep the hype that Pretty Little Liars had. So I guess that if they would have waited a few years, they would have missed an opportunity, or at least I feel like that's where they were thinking. But And even the reboot that is set to start filming this summer, probably be out by next year, I feel like it's too soon for that. I'll talk about that later, but yeah, like it's only been, what, 4 years since Pretty Liar ended? And now we're getting a reboot?
Two can keep a secret as one of them is dead.
So let's get into the friendship. Marlene King constantly describes Pretty Little Liars and its successor, a show about friendship. And although in season 1 of Pretty Little Liars that might have been true, although that's kind of debatable, I've never seen a more dysfunctional group of friends where it seems that no one likes each other. And on the Perfectionists, they're not even friends. The mystery of Nolan's death is supposed to bring them together as they work to find his murder, but it takes them a long time to trust each other, especially Caitlyn. And another thing that I don't understand is why that they have to fake to be Nolan's friends. I mean, they were Nolan friends, but I don't understand why they had to fake being a group of friends. I never understood Nolan. Like, they made a horrible job, because it's not like in the OG where we can see why Allison is friends with every single one of them. But Nolan, I don't understand why he was faking to take Caitlyn. Is it because, like, even if it's because his mom likes Caitlyn and not Ava, like, I don't understand why he had to fake it. He was never truly a friend of Dylan's. And Ava, I mean, I don't buy that he actually really loved her. Like, I just don't understand anything that Nolan did. Like, it seemed like he had a bigger agenda, like there was something going on. I also don't understand a thing about Taylor. Because it seemed like, you know, they were working on something. I don't understand why she faked her death either. Because when she comes back to the show, like when she comes back and everybody knows that she's alive, like she doesn't do anything. She just joins in onto whatever Alison, Mona, and the rest of them are doing. Like, she doesn't really bring in new information or anything like that. I kind of got distracted and forgot to mention what I actually wanted to say about the friendship. In The Perfectionists, I really don't understand their friendship dynamic, or at least the friendship that they have with Nolan, because obviously Ava, Caitlin, and Dylan were not exactly friends. So they're college students, therefore they only know each other for what? A year? A few months? They don't really know each other. It's not like in the OG where they've known each other for a longer time, like since middle school, or like Spencer and Allison, who were neighbors. So I don't really understand how long has Nolan been friends with any of them, and it doesn't even seem that they were friends for that long. So for him to have these plan out perfect fake posse, it just doesn't do it to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to put it into words, but the show is trying to tell us that, Nolan, it's not that Nolan was close with them, but they're trying to, it just, I don't understand why Nolan wanted those three people in his group and faking a perfect group. You know what I'm trying to say?
Two can keep a secret if one of them is dead.
Is this an unpopular opinion? I'd rather a spin-off show or reboot, whatever you want to call it, not include any of the characters from the OG due to it usually ruins the character's storyline and development. The reason these two were included, it's because they're the only actors who said yes. Marlene explains that she spoke to the actors while filming season 7 about who was ready to move on and who wanted to explore the characters a bit more, and only Sasha and Jenna say yes. Oh, and I wish that they had said no. The thing is, their stories are over. Their character arc is finished. Was it a good character arc? No. Was it a good story arc? No. But it's done. If Marlene didn't give them a proper storyline and character development in the original show that ran for 7 seasons, what makes her think that she can do it in a new show? Mona is my favorite character, but she has no character development. I'm sorry, someone had to say it. She has also no redeeming qualities. Like, she's a fucking mess. I never know what the hell she's up to, and I'm pretty sure Marlene doesn't either, but she just defines her as crazy and calls it a day. And Allison, on the other hand, I don't like her, and she was a horrible choice to be in the show because it makes everything that happened in the last few seasons of Pretty Little Liars a waste of time. Pretty Little Liars ends with Addison being married to Emily with their twin daughters. I will never forget this creepy storyline. I wish I could, but I can't. But in The Perfectionists, to explain why Emily and the twins aren't there, Alison announces that they're separated. And I don't remember in which episode, Emily actually sends her the divorce papers. Pretty Little Liar put Alison and Emily together because of fan service. They didn't even care to give them a proper plot line. No, they didn't give a shit. They were just, oh, fans want Amazon, let's give them Amazon, even if it makes no sense. I'm not gonna talk about how much I don't like Emily and Allison. Like, I've said it before and I'm not repeating myself. So they work so hard on that for them to then break them up in The Perfection, saying that Emily couldn't get past who Allison was in the past, like she couldn't get over it, when Emily was the one who was always on Allison's side and always overlooking and forgiving Allison for any shit that she did. So it makes no sense why that would be the reason for Emily to get a divorce.
Two can keep a secret if one of them is dead.
So let's talk about what actually went wrong with the show. The short answer is low ratings, but you aren't here for the short answer, otherwise you would have Googled it. So I have theories of why they got low ratings, And like I said before, following Pretty Little Liars formula was a wrong move. Just because we let them get away with inconsistent storylines, plot holes, and problematic plot lines, lazy writings, and horrible antagonists doesn't mean we'll let them do that twice. Alison and Mona have no business being in the show. The other characters are too similar and hard to care for them. I mean, the secrets that they were scared will get exposed aren't that juicy. I mean, besides Dylan's, those aren't even their secrets but their parents, so I don't really care. And I know that I already made a point saying that, oh, the show is too much like the OG, so I'm kind of being hypocritical here. It's just that, for example, Kaylee, I never fucking cared for her, and her secret is that her mom had an affair. Her mom was cheating on her other mom, and her mom is gonna be a state senator or president, whatever that is. Okay, and besides her pretending to be Nolan's girlfriend, like there's nothing else to her character. It's not like Spencer, who had several secrets, such as, you know, her sleeping with Ren and Ian, who were both Melissa's boyfriend. You know, her struggles with being an overachiever and not really loved by her parents. Like, there's just so much depth to Spencer's character, and there's no depth to Caitlin. She's a very two-dimensional person, and I don't really care for her. Then we have Ava, who we do get to see a little bit of her. Her secret is that her dad made some very bad business moves and stole money from other people, and then he got away and he left her money, and she's being harassed by this ex-FBI Donna person, and she's dating Nolan, but secretly, and then Nolan dies, and she goes through this, you know, grieving and drinking herself to sleep. And she's also trying to rebuild herself, so when her YouTube channel and her clothing line, trying to get an internship at Vogue, so when people hear her last name, they don't think about her dad, but her. I feel like she has more depth and there's more for me to care about her. And then we have Dylan, who is basically Emily, not very interesting. He's gay, and his secret was actually about him, that he cheated on his boyfriend with Nolan. So I feel like he's the only one that actually has a secret that is actually about him and would actually ruin something. And when it gets out, it actually ruins his relationship, although they work it out at the end. I feel like I have to give Eli Brown some props here, because if it weren't for his charisma, that character would have been so boring, just like Nate and Emily. I feel like he actually brought some charisma to his character and made it less boring. What was the point of Taylor faking her death if she doesn't do anything but repeat that Nolan trusted Allison when they only talked once? When did he trust her? Like when she was calling him out on having Dylan write his paper? The show is good for the first few episodes. Well, not good, but it's not bad. By episode 6, it starts getting a bit dull. I guess they run out of ideas. And weirdly enough, with the amount of flashbacks, it felt like a farewell, as if they were saying goodbye, which is very anticlimactic since it's season 1. If it were to be a mini-series or a limited series, I would understand. But it's season 1 and you want to get renewed for season 2, so why it's not the same type of flashbacks that we got with the OG, when we got flashbacks to, you know, really get to know who Alison was, to see that Alison was a very manipulative person, to understand the aid text that the girls will get. But here it was like it was flashbacks of Nolan being nice to Ava, and even flashbacks of things that happened in the early episodes, as if, oh, they're such good friends. Then on the last episode, they added unnecessary drama. The guy who bullied Dylan in school for being gay, that turns out was closeted and in love with him. Can shows stop doing this, please? Like, I'm so tired of teen dramas trying to excuse homophobia and romanticize harassment and bullying, and basically saying that homophobia is okay since this person is actually LGBT. This is not enemy to lovers. This is just romanticizing homophobia and bullying LGBT kids. The show doesn't leave you wanting more. Sure, you want to know who killed Nolan, but even that isn't enough. We don't even know about that person that is like harassing them or anything. They don't give that person a name until like episode 9 or 10. So they don't bring in the professor, which, by the way, the professor? Like, is this La Casa de Papel? Like, what the heck is going on? The show ends when someone at the cafe watching the guys saying what they're afraid of, and Zach interrupts, offering more coffee, revealing that the professor is an actual professor. And something that bothers me from both Pretty Little Liars and The Perfectionists, putting all the blame on one person and then moving on to the next. It was first Mason, who was Nolan's bestie, who always wanted to be like Nolan. As soon as Nolan was out of the picture, Mason could take his place. Kind of reason enough for them to suspect about him. And even though he has an alibi, he literally says that he was like at a party or he was with his crew or something like that. He has an alibi. They still put all the blame to him for 3 whole episodes until then, and to the point that Caitlin hits him in the head and steals his phone. And then they're like, oh, well, I guess he did have an alibi, lol, sorry. And then they move on to the harassing ex-VI who's now a beacon guard, Donna, who I fucking hate. Like, she was so fucking annoying. And they move on to her because they started thinking, well, she's harassing us. She probably knows something and whatever. They think that she did it, even though it's kind of obvious that she didn't. And then they quickly jump into Jeremy, who was Caitlin's actual boyfriend, who always gave me the creeps. I was like, there's something off in this guy. So they started thinking that it was him, especially because he said some suspicious things to Caitlin, saying that, oh, he did it to protect her, he wanted him gone, you also wanted him gone, saying some kind of bullshit like that. So they think that that's a confession. If we had gotten a season 2, I'm pretty sure that they would have done the same thing with Ian, kind of like, oh no, it wasn't actually him, like he meant something else, like whatever. Oh, and talking about inappropriate relationships, when they stop accusing Mason of being the murderer excuse to still have him in the show, they make it seem that he the chess player that Mona was playing with, and they start having an affair.
These 2 can keep a secret as one of them is dead.
Now that I'm done talking about The Perfectionist, well, I don't know if I'm done talking about The Perfectionist, but let's try and move on and talk about Addison. This girl was introduced in season 5, has a new generation Addison de Laurentiis. There was no reason for her to be there. A Walmart Alison de Laurentiis, a member of the swim team who misses practice, Emily tries to teach her a lesson, and Addison starts lying about Emily hitting on her and her classmates. When Emily finds out, she calls her out on lying about missing practice, and Addison is sent to the principal's office. We see her again in season 7, and she's still bullying people. Her classmates are afraid of her, and she tries to make fun of Jenna, but she puts her back in her place.
I may not be able to see, but I can smell a bitch a mile away.
She was so much like Allison from the early seasons, to the point that it was so fucking annoying. And the only thing missing was making her a blonde, and I'm surprised that they even do that, which they already did enough by naming her Addison. You didn't have to make it that obvious. You really didn't have to. Another reason why I don't like the series finale, at the end of the episode we have a remake I guess you can call it that. A group of girls in a barn at night, 2 are missing, one of them comes back claiming that the other one is gone. I'm pretty sure that the girl who was missing was Addison, but don't quote me. And Marlene explains as if it's a new generation of Pretty Little Liars, which I hate because it takes originality from the story. I don't have a problem with them doing a reboot or a spin-off or whatever like that. My issue is having the exact same thing, you know, the exact same plot. It's what really messed me up. Like, it's just, why did they think that was good?
The secret is one of them is dead.
I didn't know about this until I was researching for this video, but apparently we're getting another 2010 teen drama reboot. It's called Pretty Little Liars Original Sin, and it will be on HBO Max. They will start filming this summer, and the writer is no other than Roberto Aguirre Sacasa, the showrunner of Riverdale. I think I don't have to say more. I suggested to watch Friendly Spain's Ninja video on Riverdale to understand why I don't have any kind of hope for the show to be any good. Really surprising because HBO rarely misses. Like, everything that I've seen from HBO and from what I've heard from people, their shows are quality, you know, they usually don't miss. Forget about the last season of Game of Thrones, but overall they don't really miss. Like, they have good shows and somewhat good, but they don't really have bad shows unlike Netflix. So I'm thinking this is gonna be HBO first missed show. I mean, I'll watch it, I'll give it a chance when it comes out, and I'll make a video about it, but why him? I mean, I'm glad that it's not Marlene King, but why him? Because I don't think he's a better choice.
The secret is one of them is dead.
Don't think I forgot about you, Ravenswood. I haven't forgotten. I don't really remember anything from this show, and it wasn't that good to give it a rewatch, so this was Pretty Little Liars' first attempt at a spin-off, and I wish that they would have taken this fail as a lesson to not try again. This show takes place in Ravenswood, a mystical town near Rosewood where we were introduced in season 4. Caleb leaves the show to go there to try and help Miranda find her family, and over there he second questioned his decision when meeting Miranda's uncle. Eventually he joined Miranda and everybody else to dig into the town's dark past and investigate the curse that has been haunting the town for generations. The show got cancelled due to low ratings. I mean, the show was not good, so I understand why. And personally, I think having Caleb in the show wasn't the right call. As much as I like him, he wasn't that interesting of a character to be a protagonist, and plus, very selfish of me, I know, I want him with Hannah. And I feel like he was more useful in Pretty Little Liars because of his hacking abilities. Like, it made more sense for him to be in Pretty Little Liars, but in Ravenswood, has trying to solve mystery is not exactly fitted. I feel like if the show would have focused on Miranda and the rest of them, not bringing someone from without Caleb, like if Caleb would have stayed in Rosewood, I feel like maybe the show would have had a chance. So yeah, I think the shows were doomed from the beginning. Since Pretty Little Liars was obviously not doing really good after season 4. Like I said earlier, having Marlene King, and besides the show's not actually being that good, and on Ravenswood case, it was just not good. The Perfectionist is not bad, but it's also not a show that we want. It's like there, and maybe if you want to watch it, you'll watch it, but it's not a show that it's worth having a second season. You know what I mean? Even the mystery that it lifts us off with, like who's the professor and who killed Nolan, and trying to understand more from, you know, the Beacon Guard and that kinds of stuff, you know, when Mona talking to, another thing was Mona, like in the first episode of, like in the pilot of The Perfectionist, we see Mona talking to a bunch of mirrors, and then we realized that there's people watching. It's like we never really got to see any of that. Like did we just forgot about that? Did we? Like, because there's a bunch of people, it wasn't just one person. So like, did they forget that they did that? Also, Taylor, when we see her in the first episode or in the second episode, we see her, you know, watching cameras and kind of A-like, and then we never really learn anything from that. So Freeform explained that the reason why they decided to cancel the show was because of the low ratings that they got. They got around 300,000 views, which is definitely low considering that the last episode of the show reached 2 million views, and that was after they started getting low views. So that means that Pretty Little Liars originally had way more than 2 million views per week. So it's definitely a downfall for The Perfectionists and for Freeform. And the mystery type of shows was also not what Freeform was getting their most views at. Like, they were doing other type of shows that were giving them more views and ratings. So it was, at the end of the day, a decision of like, well, this show doesn't seem that lucrative, so we're just not gonna give it another chance. And that's it. I think that's the end for Marlene Keene's attempt at trying to rebuy Pretty Little Liars, which we see her try to do that every fucking week when uploading throwbacks, photos of the episodes, and try to engage with the people that still follow her, as if, oh, do you know which episode this is? And so I think that's all I have to say about The Perfectionists. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you did, and remember to subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. I'm currently working on a Serena van der Woodsen video, but that's probably gonna take me a while because rewatching Gossip Girl, oh my god. And I'm also rewatching Grey's Anatomy for a video, so wish me luck. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.